We got some rumors and details and speculations to talk about with Avengers Doomsday. We all know that Avengers Doomsday is arguably going to be one of the biggest films of this decade. Now, with the recent reports of how we could be possibly getting a first look at Doomsday attached to Avatar Fire and Ash come this December, has a lot of fans hyped and speculating on what we could possibly see come December. Now, rumors and speculations. There could be a third Avengers film after Doomsday, or even a title shift for Doomsday. Now, this seems crazy and wild, but I want to talk about it because it's really interesting to me. Do you guys think, honestly, do you think that Avengers Doomsday would only benefit from a title switch to Avengers versus X-Men? Honest thoughts and opinions on that. But then there's even more talk about how there could be a third Avengers film releasing between Doomsday and Secret Wars, that being Avengers versus X-Men. Now, we all know that the Russo brothers took to their social media to tease Doomsday with a very cryptic photo of the on-set of Avengers Doomsday. Now, a lot of fans are trying to, jump into it, go frame for frame, trying to see what's happening. Some fans have even pointed out an A versus X, that, meaning Avengers versus X-Men, which would be absolutely huge. We all know that we have returning characters from the earlier X-Men films like Ian McKellen's Magneto, Patrick Stewart, Professor X, James Marsden, Cyclops, Alan Cummings, Nightcrawler, you throw in Gambit, you throw in Mystique. It is going to be one hell of a ride with Doomsday, with these returning X-Men characters, which has a lot of fans extremely excited about film, which is really interesting to me because this is a very interesting hot take that I'm seeing, that Doomsday, fans are more excited about Doctor Doom and the X-Men, more so of the recent run of the MCU post-Endgame. So we're talking like Captain America Brave New World, we're talking like the recent Thunderbolts, the Fantastic Four, arguably all of those projects underperforming at the box office. More fans are more excited about the nostalgic feeling of these returning X-Men characters, which is really interesting to me. And I don't blame them. Marvel has been on a very interesting run as of late. There hasn't been a much push and fan base behind the studio like it once had. So bringing back OG characters has fans much more excited. But I hate to say it, the nostalgia thing that Marvel is going through right now is going to end after Secret Wars. Now they're going to have to really adjust and shift to brand new faces to push the studio past the superhero, Marvel, comic book, DC, whatever you want to think, fatigue that it's absolutely real. So I'm interested to know you guys' particular take on that. Are you guys more excited about the Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts, and the Avengers? Or are you excited about, Doctor Doom and the X-Men side of that particular film? But if they did decide to branch off and do a third Avengers film in between, that means Doomsday releases next December. That means Avengers versus X-Men would possibly have to release summer of 2027 because Secret Wars releases at the end of 2027. That would be huge. Now, we don't know how much is on the table. We don't know how much they actually shot for Doomsday. They were shooting for damn near 4 months and potentially going into more additional photography and more reshoots. So they could have more planned scheduled shooting for Doomsday and Avengers versus X-Men, possibly. There's so much story to tell because there's so many characters. The fact that you're going to try to split this up into 2 films is kind of insane. We thought Endgame and Infinity War were big. This blows them out of the water like there's no tomorrow. We're talking all of these characters they haven't even announced yet for Doomsday, which is even crazier when you think about it. So maybe Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, the Russo brothers are like, okay, what if we split this up? We did a 2-parter, a Doomsday, Avengers versus X-Men, and then we close it out with Secret Wars. Because I feel like if you truly want to tell Doom's story, you're going to need more time than a 2.5-hour film, especially when you have all the other characters who are going to be crammed into this movie. It's a lot to juggle. So maybe this might actually benefit them by doing 3 Avengers movies in the next 2 to 2.5 years. It may sound like a lot, but I think that it's an absolute possibility. because I doubt the Russo brothers and Kevin Feige want to leave a lot out of the editing room. You know what I mean? Especially if they're shooting a lot of great sequences and a lot of great character, dialogue and great character interaction. Because that's one thing I always felt that, Infinity War and Endgame always lacked. We never got to see Black Panther and Tony Stark interact. How in the hell did that ever happen? That is extremely frustrating. So I'm hoping that there is not a lot left out on the cutting floor and they're able to utilize every single shot, frame, second of these films to its fullest, best potential for us fans, honestly. That's what I'm hoping, you guys. But this is all speculation and rumors. Like I said, we don't truly know what's going to happen. With a teaser potentially coming out at the end of the year attached to Avatar 3, we'll see what happens. It could be a teaser announcing Avengers versus X-Men. We don't know. But it's really exciting, you guys, and I cannot wait. But moving on to the next topic, you guys, which is really interesting to me. Predator Badlands apparently is going to be PG-13, making it the first Predator project to be PG-13 and not R-rated. Now, I had no idea, telling even from the trailers, that this was going to be a PG-13 film. Do I think that it could benefit with an R rating? Yes. Am I concerned that it's PG-13? Absolutely not, because just because a film is rated PG-13 doesn't mean it can't deliver. Now, you have to think. Look at Hellboy. Guillermo del Toro's first two Hellboys, PG-13. Wonderful, well classically made films. You look at the reboot, R-rated, an absolute disaster from most audiences' perspective. I enjoyed the remake of Hellboy. I had a good time. I still want my boy David Harbour to return as Hellboy, and I want to see more explored in that world. But that movie they had come out like a year ago, you guys, oh my God, that was one of the worst comic book movies I've ever seen in my life. Terrible. But like I said, Predator Badlands is going to be PG-13. But, they've also confirmed that it will still have plenty of violence as possible, but there won't be any human blood in the movie. I'm okay with that. From everything we've seen from the trailers, it looks absolutely epic on every single level, and I cannot wait for Predator Badlands. And to close out the video, you guys, we're talking Fast and the Furious. So, Vin Diesel is tripping. Now, he's been promoting the next Fast and the Furious for years now, and we can all agree that Fast and the Furious is a dying franchise. It should have ended, I think it was part 7, when Brian and Toretto, were driving away and they were playing that great song. Should have ended there. But it's all about money to Hollywood. It's all about continuity, and it's all about how can we expand and make more and more and more, ultimately shooting themselves in the foot, because the last couple of Fast and the Furious films have been terrible. I am sorry. They haven't been good. They have not. And Vin Diesel's been teasing this next Fast and the Furious for the longest time now. Oh, we're going back to the streets. Coming out on stage with, what's his name? Oh my God, I forgot his actual real name, Brian's brother, coming out on stage with him and Tyrese talking how, they're going to go back to the streets of LA. Keep this in mind. Universal execs have a totally different opinion about this. So Universal execs are not even sure that they're going to make the final Fast and the Furious movie unless there is a $50 million budget cut from the film. So that means, I'm sorry, that's going to come from salaries. They were all getting paid money, trust me, because these films, once upon a time, were making money. They're making a lot of money, a shit ton of money. They're not there anymore. They're barely breaking even now? So the budget cuts are serious. So then, I'm sorry, if you have to take a budget cut and, the rest of the cast and crew have to take a budget cut, it looks like this movie is not being made. But not only that, so despite what Vin Diesel claims and confirms, there is no approved script, no release date, and most of the actors haven't even signed on to return yet. So it looks like this shit possibly might not even happen at all. At all. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be mad. I know they teased the Rock returning, at the end of the last one. I was like, okay, cool. Ben and, Dwayne, they aren't feuding anymore. They're, they're able to come back and, branch off for more of these films. But, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this Fast and the Furious franchise leading up to its final conclusion. I think it's time we move on. In 10 years, guess what? It's going to be rebooted. It's going to happen. I'm sorry, but, no more going to space, fighting dinosaurs, going along with G.I. Joe and Transformers. It's time to dial it back a little bit, Vin. Please, can we? But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about the news and speculations about Avengers Doomsday. What do you think about Predator Badlands being PG-13? And what do you think about Fast and the Furious potentially not happening over at Universal? Thoughts and opinions, let me hear in the comments down below. And of course, thank you guys for taking time out of your day for watching Zero Productions. Peace.